A common question that I get asked on the channel is what is the best time and the best age to quit smoking weed? And that's a question that I'm going to answer for you in today's brief video. Now, if you wind up enjoying my answer and you want to learn more about the Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching programs, you can find both free and paid resources in the pinned comment in the video description. The best time to quit smoking weed is right now, especially if you're struggling with weed addiction. And I know that sounds cliche, but please don't bail on this video until I get to explain myself. After personally struggling for several years with weed addiction, I started to experience something that I have coined the creep effect of addiction. I got to give you a little backstory on myself for this to make sense. When I started smoking weed, I was quite a bit younger, and I was even younger when I started using nicotine. So we'll start there. So I was in high school. I got addicted to chewing tobacco and cigarettes. That's where my story began with nicotine. I didn't pick up weed until I was in college. What happened in high school was I told myself, okay, I'm not going to smoke forever. I'm not going to consume nicotine forever. This is fun right now at this point in my life. It doesn't have any serious consequences, and I'm going to stop before I get to college. What happened was I had never quit nicotine. I tried and I failed a bunch of times, and then I went on to college. Nicotine had now breeded itself into my day-to-day activities throughout college, my studying, my socialization. It was a way to celebrate. It was a way to relax. In college, I started smoking weed. I had told myself, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to smoke weed in undergrad, but when I get to the graduate portion, the doctoral portion of my chiropractic degree, I'm going to quit smoking weed because, it gets serious then. The more and more weed that I smoked, the more weed also crept into how I coped with the stress of school, how I socialized with friends, how I rewarded myself, and how I managed day-to-day anxiety and stress that a lot of college students are under. I didn't see this happening, but what was occurring was weed was starting to creep into all of my day-to-day experiences the same way that nicotine had. And if I had been smart, I would have picked up on the fact that I said I was going to quit nicotine after high school, and I didn't. Then I said I was going to quit after undergrad, and I didn't. And guess what? The same thing eventually happened with weed. So now here I am leaving college and starting yet another chapter of my life, my professional career. And I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to quit weed and nicotine now. We got to grow up at some point, right? These things aren't serving me well. I'm starting to feel negative health consequences, whatever. But I didn't. Suddenly, the stress of starting the business, the stress of having bills to pay as an adult, the stress of that next chapter of my life had now carried weed and nicotine addiction along with it. Weed and nicotine crept into that next chapter of my life. Life goes in chapters, right? We have grade school, we have high school. For some of us, we have college. Some of us, it's right into our professional careers. Then we have maybe more serious relationships. And this is where I would find myself saying, okay, I'm going to quit smoking weed when I get into a serious relationship. I'm going to quit smoking weed when I, find that special someone. And I had found that someone, or so I thought, and I didn't quit. I continued to smoke. I actually took a break for a little bit, but I continued to smoke weed. At this point in my life, weed had crept into my finances. It had crept into my career. It had crept into my relationships. It had crept into all my life's successes and all of my life's failures. And this is what I call the creep effect of cannabis. And I hear about this all the time. We have a lot of people that we work with in our offices who are typically between the ages of 30 and 40, and they have a family, they have a wife or a husband, they have kids, and they call them, they say, it's sad, I can't even go to my kid's soccer game without getting high before I go. I can't enjoy a dinner with my wife or my husband without getting high before I go. Because what's happened, that addiction has integrated itself and crept into all those aspects of that person's life, of that person's relationship. And that's why I say if you're struggling with weed addiction or nicotine addiction or any addiction, the best time to quit is right now, because this creep effect It happens very, very slowly and very, very sneakily. Like you don't even see it happening, but hopefully after watching a video like this, you start to realize how obvious this is. How many times have you said, I will quit after this event? I will quit when I accomplish this. I will quit when I meet this person, when I achieve this, when I do that. I will quit before the next chapter of my life. And then weed or addiction carries itself over. The reality of this situation is the actions that you take today, right now, in this very moment, whatever date and time it is you're watching this video, the next actions that you take are what is going to determine that next chapter of your life. The thoughts, the decisions, and the actions you take today write the next chapter of your life. And I have a question for you. Who's writing that next chapter? Is it you or is it addiction? Is it you or is it those obsessive, compulsive, addictive tendencies, thoughts, and actions? Who do you want to write the next chapter of your life? Because if I look back, weed wrote about a 9 years of my life was written off to weed. I wasn't in control of that. That's the first thing you have to ask yourself. The second thing that I would caution you is take accountability for your actions today, or you will lose accountability tomorrow. There is nothing more freeing than being accountable for one's behaviors, actions, and decisions. There's nothing more freeing than that. That is a true sense of freedom. If I am 100% accountable for writing that next chapter of my life and the consequences of life that come along with it, that puts me in control. That puts me in a position of power, and that puts me in a really, really neat place. Because now I'm not just a leaf blowing through the wind where things are constantly happening to me. Things are now constantly happening because of me. And because I didn't take full accountability for my behaviors, my decisions, to write that next chapter of my life, eventually addiction did. Something that I craved so bad and I didn't even realize it was accountability. And once I got that back after quitting, I'll tell you, ever since then, it's been a completely life-changing experience. The decisions you make, the actions you take, and the consequences that result are on you. It's on you at the end of the day. I'm here to support you. There's groups out there to support you. There's a million ways to get support. But at the end of the day, the decision's on you to see through, because you don't want me writing the next chapter of your life. I'm writing my own, and I'm kind of nuts. You don't want addiction writing the next chapter of your life, because you know where that's going to lead you. You know where that's going to go. You don't want your parents writing it. You don't want your friends writing it. You want to be accountable for that. And right now, if you're watching this video, there's a good chance addiction is writing it. But today, right now, at this moment, drop the time in the comments below. Let me know. Are you going to take 100% accountability what's happening for you today? And are you going to show that with the actions that you take tomorrow? Because if you don't, again, I can't emphasize this enough. You might lose it to addiction, to the creep effect of addiction. And for so many people, that's why quitting, somewhere I'd say if you're able to, it doesn't matter how old you are, okay? I want to make that very clear, because what you're doing today, the actions you take today, is writing the next chapter of your life. So if you're working and you're getting ready for retirement, great. If you're already retired, then you're getting ready to write that chapter of your life, maybe with grandchildren and your children and whatever retirement looks like for you, right? You're constantly scripting out tomorrow with what you do today. So it doesn't matter how old you are, but a lot of people who call me tend to be in their 30s and 40s, because for a lot of people, this is where the family really starts to develop and the significant relationships. And a lot of people start to realize exactly what I'm telling you about. They're like, weed started with the creep effect socially. It started as something that was fun. It started that was something that was a good coping mechanism. But now, as I'm developing a family, as I'm growing in my career, it's creeping into those things. Fruit fly. That's embarrassing. Okay? And this is where you have to pause and you have to ask yourself, do you want to carry this addiction? Do you want to carry it over to the next page, over to the next chapter? Because it's you can stop that from happening right now, today. This is the creep effect of any substance. Nicotine, weed, alcohol, pills. It doesn't matter what you're addicted to. Gambling. they all have the same creep effect, and we often don't even see it coming. But now that you know about it, now that you're aware of it, now that you're probably thinking about your own actions and your own consequences and your own stuff, it's on you to be accountable to make a change. And that's what I'm hoping this video and the Addiction Mindset community and channel helps you do. Now, if you're not sure about how to go making that change, be sure to check out the pinned comment for our free 7-step guide on how to quit smoking weed today. It's an immediate download. For those of you that don't want to quit, we have a free guide on tolerance breaks. Try that. We have one-on-one paid addiction recovery coaching, and then we have our mental health community, which is $4.97 a month to be a part of. You get access to myself and another addiction recovery coach and a whole bunch of other resources. So check that stuff out in the pinned comment or the video description. I'll see you guys there.